Good morning. I'd like to talk about faith and an actual experience I had related to this. So I've entitled it, Losing Śraddhā, How the East is Forgetting Its Own Heart. I've spent over 30 years studying Indian philosophy and using one word, Śraddhā, using it as a shining example of what faith should mean. Not belief, not empty ritual, not words spoken in hope or fear, but something deeper, devotion, commitment, and the hard-earned trust that comes from walking the path. So imagine my surprise, my dismay, when I recently heard a young teacher tied to a well-known academy claim there is such a thing as Śraddhā without devotion or commitment. That not all Śraddhā is good, and that some is more intellectual, more optional. It shocked me. This wasn't coming from someone unfamiliar with the tradition. They teach at Eton College, a place associated with elite education. They're a daughter of a well-known academic in the field, and yet, in that moment, she casually undid thousands of years of lived meaning, as though Śraddhā were just a sliding scale of preferences. This is not just a matter of interpretation. This is semantic drift, a dangerous dilution of the very concepts that hold Dharma together. And what's worse, it's happening not in the West, but within the East itself. Śraddhā, what it meant and what it means. So let's be clear. Śraddhā is not belief. It never was. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, a person is made of faith. Whatever their Śraddhā is, that they are. This isn't about subscribing to a doctrine. It's about embodiment. Faith is something that shapes who we are at our core. Śraddhā is lived. It is not what you say. It is what you commit to. In the Yoga Sutras 1.20, Patanjali lays out the path for the seeker. For others, the path begins with faith, then energy, then memory, absorption, and wisdom. Again, the commentaries are clear. Śraddhā is the starting point, the inner alignment that makes the rest of the path possible. Without it, nothing else sticks. And this Śraddhā is always connected to devotion and commitment. It is the willingness to trust the Guru, to walk the path, and to act with sincerity and humility. Śraddhā is not an option. It's not optional. It's the lifeblood of sadhana. The Western drift from trust to belief. So how did we get here? Part of the answer lies in how the West transformed the meaning of faith. Originally, the Latin word fides meant loyalty, trust, even covenant. It was something lived and practiced, but post-Enlightenment, faith was reduced to mental belief, something held in the mind, often without proof, and often without action. Right? I'll remind you that doubt in the Bible was a failure to act. This shift created a strange new category, faith without commitment. Faith as opinion. Faith as feeling. Faith as intellectual preference. Faith detached from lived responsibility. And this concept, alien to the Indian tradition, is now being imported back into the East. Internalized colonization, when the East forgets. I've heard this firsthand from self-proclaimed experts, even from Indian scholars who now speak of Śraddhā as something that can be positive or negative, or devotional or intellectual, as if we're describing mood rings. But these aren't just innocent interpretations. These are signs of internalized epistemic colonization. The West once colonized the East with force. Now it does so with language. When Indian teachers began echoing Western categories of faith and religion while forgetting their own deeper meanings, they are not modernizing. They are forgetting. They are unknowing what their ancestors knew. This is why one scholar from the same academy said we should stop calling it religion altogether, as if the problem lies in the word. No, the problem lies in the forgetting of what that word once meant. Dharma, religio, din, Torah. They all meant the same something, something more than today's belief system. They were entire ways of being, of acting. Śraddhā was their inner fire. What happens when Śraddhā is lost? When we reduce Śraddhā to personal opinion or mere positivity, we hollow out the spiritual path. Bhakti, devotion, becomes sentimentality. Jnana becomes cold intellectualism. Karma yoga becomes performance. Yoga itself becomes fitness. In short, the middle way becomes just another brand, something to market, something to monetize, something to argue about online. But Śraddhā isn't marketable. It's not an accessory. It's not a flavor. It's the root. It's the axis, the Shakti that animates practice and insight alike. If Śraddhā is weakened, everything collapses. The sacred becomes optional. Commitment becomes cringe. Devotion becomes outdated. And soon, all we're left with is self-help slogans dressed in Sanskrit. A personal testament. So no, I do not accept the idea that there's good Śraddhā and bad Śraddhā, that it can be divorced from devotion and commitment. There is real Śraddhā, the kind that bursts transformation, courage, humility, and action. And there is drift, confusion, colonized thinking. And I say this not as a scholar in robes, but as someone who has lived, studied, practiced, and suffered for decades in devotion to this path. I don't say this to protect tradition for its own sake, but to protect the possibility of liberation that these teachings offer. Because if we lose Śraddhā, we don't just lose a word, we lose the heart of drama, the heart of Dharma itself. I apologize. I had a text message come in, of course. You got to just love my dyslexic brain, huh? Even though I've been studying this for 30 years, it'll still see Dharma as drama. But it is the drama of Dharma. I call it the West Wash or term wars. Simply, will you be? Right? Be still and know that I am. Right? And when I say I am, it's the Tattvamasi or Brahmsi, Aham Brahmsi, or don't quote me on any of this stuff here. But just this simple idea that I am that. I am not this. I am that. I am something more. So on that note, thank you for your time and have a wonderful day. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.